Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Max Brosmer, J.J. McCarthy, Drake Lindsey. What do they all have in common? Well, Tanner Morgan's going to sit down with us and explain what Max Brosmer can do to solidify himself, what J.J. McCarthy needs to do, and what's going to happen with this NIL. Is Drake Lindsey coming back? We'll talk about that and much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, I'm Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm excited. The Vikings season, it's over, but they still have one game left. The Gopher season is actually over. Bowl game won. Goal accomplished. But we're going to talk about Max Brosmer. We're going to talk about J.J. McCarthy, all the quarterback stuff with Minnesota right now because that's the hot topic going on in Minneapolis. But we'll do all that. But I want everybody to know, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. And just remember, you can do it on the app as well. Just go to FanDuel.com. Make sure you jump on from a computer, tablet, wherever you're at. Really simple. Playoff parlays are coming up. Great way to win some money on some of these playoff parlays because it's only a small amount of games, and you should be able to figure out some of the early winners. So I know I'm taking advantage of these early parlays. But as I bring my co-host to the show, my producer, Sam Ekstrom. Sam, the season's winding down, and as you look at the NFL as it stands right now, the Minnesota Vikings versus the Lions. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming, right? Everybody knew the Lions had a chance to go to the playoffs. Everybody knew the Vikings had no chance. Zero. They were eliminated from the playoffs. But they still found a way, Sam. They still found a way to make sure the Detroit Lions went home. And I think Byron Murphy said it the best, or one of the guys said it, that was our job. Our job was to be season stealers. It was to end their season just like ours. A lot of people don't have that mindset, right? A lot of guys would have came into that game thinking like, who cares if we win? Doesn't matter. Like, I just want to make it out of this healthy so I can get ready for OTAs and get ready for the offseason training and all the stuff. And I get a vacation for February, coming up, January, February, vacation coming up. And then I got to be back for March OTAs and workouts. No, the Minnesota Vikings are like, look, some guys still have to earn their way on this team. And right away, Sam, I could feel like Max Brosmer, like at first I thought, I was like, it's Christmas. Max Brosmer has a chance. He has a chance to really be special tonight. And then after a couple, like, not say missed throws, non-throws, like he didn't want to really put the ball in harm's way. I don't know if you remember the Giants game when they came to US Bank Stadium back when Eli Manning played and the Vikings got after him where like every throw looked like it was in the dirt. Zimmer had Eli Manning just absolutely confused of where he wanted to go with the ball. It felt like Max Brosmer was on that trajectory. He was just like, I don't really want to like put the ball in harm's way. I had a horrible Seattle game. I don't want to be synonymous with that. And if J.J. McCarthy plays in the Packers games, a lot of people will remember the Max Brosmer Lions game. Now, again, wasn't a great output, 51 yards throwing, but they got the W. So he at least say he got an NFL win as a starting quarterback. When you look at the Packers' potential, one, if J.J. McCarthy, because it comes down to grip strength, right? Kevin O'Connell brought that up. Like I broke my hand a while ago, Sam. It's taken me 6 to 8 months just to get to this point where I can close it and feel comfortable closing it.
Wow.
Still hurts. And mine was probably a little bit more serious than his. It got pushed back. I heard it pop. It was like some type of fracture, and it took a while, right? J.J. McCarthy just did this. So meaning it's swollen. It was completely swollen. I know it because that's what happens when you have hairline fractures. So he was dealing with swelling. He's going to have to get that out. Can he make it to Sunday? I don't think he will. I think when I walk into the building, we'll probably know on Saturday. I'm hoping Friday. I hope the Vikings just say it Friday. J.J. McCarthy's out. Max, you're starting. My guess is in the building, we're going to know it.
Mm-hmm.
But if that is his last game, not bad to go to W. But I think he has another chance against the Packers. Packers are pretty much like, what do we do from here? What goes on with our season now? They took an L unexpected to the Ravens. And when you think about that now, everybody's like, wait, the Vikings might be able to beat the Packers too and finish 9-8. Like, it's a winning season. It doesn't feel like a winning season when you think about all the quarterback issues, but it could be. And so my thought about the Lions game is that the defense is what's going to carry them down the stretch, right? I don't think, even if it is J.J. McCarthy with that hand, I don't think he's going to be the savior and throw for 300 yards. I think this becomes another, because I'm guessing they don't trot Jordan Love out there. That's just my opinion. Maybe they do, but you're going to get Malik Willis. And I feel like that's
and he's got a shoulder. And it might not even be Willis.
So if it's not Willis, who knows who it is? I don't know who their third quarterback, because I know he did go into the tunnel.
Clayton Tune.
So now you got a Clayton Tune versus Max Brosmer game. That's exactly what the TV people wanted. Clayton Tune, Max Brosmer, the showdown. Who can throw the furthest? And this is what Brian Flores wants. This could be a Harrison Smith, my last game, 2 interception type of day, right? A guy like Harrison Smith that can confuse a guy to make a throw. He's done it before and again and again. And I think, he's going to blitz off the edge. They want this last game for Harrison Smith to be absolutely magical. But Sam, I never saw that Detroit Lions game coming. I just thought the run game alone was going to be enough to help Jared Goff. It wasn't. Like, it felt like Brian Flores kind of had it figured out. He was blitzing when he needed to, even on run blitzes. Dallas Turner playing for Gennard. I didn't think Jalen Redmond would have that game. Like, everybody kind of stepped up. I mean, even, when you look at Jay Ward and Theo Jackson, like in place of Josh Metellus, they both were making plays. They both were making big hits. This was a game that Brian Flores put the entire world, like, they were already on notice. But the Lions game definitely put him on the pedestal of, like, pay me what you owe me. And it also showed the world that Ben Johnson, you saw the 49ers game. Dan Campbell is not Dan Campbell without Ben Johnson. Like, you could tell he's missing the innovation within that offense. But I don't know. What did you see?
Yeah, it's cool that Brian Flores solved the Lions problem because they had his number. I think they were 4-0 against Brian Flores.
Yeah.
And this year, Flores got him. He got him good. He's gotten uber aggressive against Goff. And Goff has not known what to do. And I didn't think that it was wise to blitz a savvy quarterback that much. And I got to eat crow. I was wrong. Goff faced more pressure against the Vikings than he did any other team, and it worked. He was flustered. He was rushing the football, some inaccurate throws, taking sacks, fumbling the ball. As bad a game as he'll ever have.
Yeah.
That was an inspiring performance considering you got almost nothing from your quarterback, Ron. Now, what you didn't get critically was a turnover by your quarterback, and that was the key because you kept having short fields. I think they had a couple drives, Ron, where Brosmer didn't even have to complete a pass, and they still got a field goal. So it worked out great. It was a wonderful game. And I've enjoyed the heck out of these last 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys game was great. The Commanders game was great. The Giants game, whatever. But the Lions game was great. It's been a really fun month. And how cool would it be to end 9-8 with the offense and the injuries they've had to say that they were still a winning team? That's a huge win for Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, and here's the sad part, right? If you hold on to one game, right? Any one of the Bears for sure, right? That Bears game. You hold on and win that game, 10 wins, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like 10 wins, you're in the playoffs. 9 wins to this point, meaning if they were 9-7, there's a chance they would probably be the 7th seed right now, for sure. Like that's the craziest part. Like this game, which we'd be Max Brosmer versus Tune, would be for the 7th position in the playoffs. Like that's even crazier. And who knows what the trickle-down effect, right? Because then the Bears are 10 and, only have 10 wins. So what does that end up looking like? Do the Vikings somehow jump to number 1 in the division with 10 wins? Like, think about that, Sam. They only have 11 wins right now, the Bears. Like, If they had
and the
lost to
Vikings
the
would have the
Vikings,
tiebreaker. If they beat the Bears, they'd have the tiebreaker. Yeah.
because they beat the Lions twice. Like, that's what's so crazy to even think about that. A Vikings 10-7 season, Bears would have been 10-6, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yep, 10-6. Vikings could be 10-7, beat the Packers. The Bears would have to win against the Lions, right? That's their last game, which they could lose that one, which would have gave the Vikings the NFC North. Like, what are we doing here? 10 wins could have won the NFC North.
Well, now you've got me bummed out. Now I'm sad. During the holiday season, you've made me melancholy. Oh,
10 wins. Like, I thought about that the other night because I was watching the Bears play the 49ers, and I'm like, you know what? These offenses on display, the Vikings couldn't keep up with either of them. Like, we know that, right? Like, they couldn't keep up with either of those offenses. Defensively, could the Vikings defense do more than what those two defenses did? Yes. And I think that's the difference. Defense wins championships, offense sells tickets. Because that game, I would watch that game 10 times out of 10. Like, that was an awesome 49ers Bears. Like, and again, Caleb Williams had two options. He could have thrown the ball back across his body, which you took that away from him because you told him don't be that guy anymore. Caleb Williams probably surveils the whole field in that situation and throws the ball back across his body to a wide open DJ Moore. I don't know if you saw that play at the end, Sam.
I did,
DJ Moore was doing jumping jacks. Like, he should have done some sit-ups and brought back T.O. But he was doing jumping jacks, wide open. But Ben Johnson told him, if you roll out left, just work with half the field, right? That's what he tried to get him to not do anymore. Don't be college Caleb that runs around and tries to find every receiver. Just work with half the field, and that's why. He normally probably would have went back. He would have went back and found DJ Moore. But then would that have also screwed him later in the season or earlier in the season when he looked at the whole field and nothing's there and he gets a strip sack fumble or he throws – because he seems like he gets out the pocket now and he just takes off way more than he did in college. Like, he was a guy that would run around for 27 seconds. Now he kind of is like, oh, nothing, I'm out of here. So there's the good and the bad. But the Vikings could have been 10-7. Bears, potentially 10-7. The Lions could have done the Vikings a favor, beat the Bears at the end of the year, and said, hey, Vikings, here's the North. Here's the North. And I think if they won the North, they would probably be the 3 seed, I think, is my guess, because the AFC or the NFC
Panthers
South
Bucks would be 4.
Yeah, they're terrible. So they would be the 3 seed, which means 3 plays 6. And the 6th seed is probably the opposite of Panthers and Bucks, right? Isn't that potentially who it would have been? Or would it have been somebody from the NFC North? Because then if you have a bunch of, 10-7 Vikings, Packers, Bears, then you probably end up playing one of them anyway.
Five would be NFC West, and then the NFC would be a rematch.
Yeah, be a rematch.
Yeah.
But again, they get to host it in US Bank Stadium.
Yep.
So that's my thought when I look at the Sam. Like, it's a 9-8 season. There's going to be all types of turmoil, conversation. JJ McCarthy, what's going on with the next quarterback? Who's the next guy? At the end of the day, it is what it is, right? You got what you got. Speaking of quarterback, I got a chance to sit down with Tanner Morgan, and we're going to jump to that Tanner Morgan interview. He talks about, Max Brosmer's game versus the Lions. So I want you guys to see what he thinks about that Lions game. He talks about NIL money, right? Drake Lindsey, some of that stuff. Like, do you come back? Do you stay? Do you leave? Is there more money somewhere else? Do receivers want to come play for the Gophers? Was that portal about to look like? Because the portal's open. Guys are taking portal visits now. It's open. He also talks about Max Brosmer's performance. And the one thing I want you guys to listen to is the throws, right? Because I brought that up as a former quarterback. Tanner has a little bit to say about that, but we'll do that after a quick word from our sponsors.
We are presented today by our longtime partner at FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. That's your official pregame. NBA Happy Hour, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with the NBA Happy Hour. Open the FanDuel app during Happy Hour and find something new. Boosts, bonuses, surprises, ways to cash in this holiday season. Check that weekly special before tip-off Make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect right before the games, right before the weekend. Get a little extra spending cash for your Saturday, Sunday nights. Adds a little extra energy to Friday basketball viewing. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, see what's dropping during NBA happy hour Fridays, 5 to 6:30 Central, 6 to 7:30 Eastern. Little basketball, little action, a whole lot of Friday energy, NBA happy hour at FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
So Ron Johnson here with Tanner Morgan. Tanner, Christmas game, Max Brosmer, right? Everybody's looking for what can Max Brosmer do to solidify himself as a number 2 quarterback. First off, 3 yards passing. That's not all on him. That's the offensive line. That's sacks, 7 sacks, so on and so forth. But what does Max have to do in this next game, potentially, if J.J. McCarthy doesn't go, fractured hand, to solidify himself as a number 2 guy in the NFL?
I think do what he's done the past 2 weeks against the Giants when he had to come in, when J.J. got hurt from Tyler Nubin, former Gopher, you talked about. And that's do what's asked, right? Run the offense. And whatever they're asking him to do to go and win a football game. Because at the end of the day, some people believe quarterback wins don't matter as a stat. I think they do. Mm-hmm. For Max, it's how can I do whatever the team needs to go win a football game. When your defense is playing like they did, against the Lions, and Jared Goff is turning the ball over like that, you just have to play conservative and do what you need to do. I think converting in the red zone is obviously something he'll get more comfortable at. We talked about that before the Gopher pregame show about that kind of bang 8, right? Yep. I'm sure you'll ask about it. And when you're a backup quarterback going in your chance and you're in the red zone, you do not turn the ball over because you got points, right?
Yep.
And so I think maybe that played into factor. The free safety kind of checked his feet a little bit, and that makes you a little nervous at the quarterback position. But I think it just goes back to doing what's asked and doing whatever you can to go help the team win a football game, whether that's handing the ball off 50 times or throwing it for 50 yards, whatever it is necessary to win the game, that's what you need to do.
And when you think about that, right, Max Brosmer, you talked about that, not throwing the ball into harm's way, do you see a little bit of hesitation in that, and how do you overcome that hesitation? Meaning people are like, oh, he could have hit the tight end right there on the hook, but it's not T.J. Hockenson, right? It's the backup to T.J. Hockenson. Yep. So does he have that same confidence? Or, oh, you could have made that throw right there, but it wasn't J.J. McCarthy, it was Ty Felton. How do you feel about that?
Well, 0 turnovers the last 2 weeks. That helps when your defense is playing like that, right? And I think, his first start against Seattle, he threw 4 picks, specifically the one on 4th and 2 that kind of let the game go drastically after that. But I think he's seeing the field well. He's being aggressive. He's competing. And you don't know what the read is. We don't know exactly what's being taught on each specific play. And, you mentioned it. No T.J. Hockenson. That's a big factor. He's one of the highest paid tight ends in the NFL for a reason. And I think it just goes back to him, again, I'll say it, doing what's asked of him to go win the football game. Because at the end of the day, if they win or lose, that's what matters. He got his first win as a starter on primetime on Netflix. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And so, again, he got the W, but 3 yards net passing. Yeah. As a quarterback, when you sit back, you say, I got the win, but I only threw for 3 yards. Now, he did throw for 51 yards, but 3 net yards. Right. How does that sit with you as a quarterback sometimes?
I think you always want to perform better, right? Yep. You can look at it, and it's a lot easier to learn after a win than a loss because you still did what you were supposed to do and go win the football game. Yep. But it still probably hurts when he looks at the stat line. He probably wants to, take his pen and mark it up and be like, how did I throw for 51 yards or 3 yards net? And, man, I think, as he goes into it, playing another great opponent, right? Yep, another week of preparation. The Vikings are hot right now. For Max, it's let's go ball out and, show the world what you can do as a quarterback, hold nothing back. And when you get your opportunities, go make the most of them, which is what he's done his entire career. Let's not forget he was an undrafted free agent quarterback. Right. Now played in 3 games, going to be a 4th here potentially. And so if he gets to start next week, man, cut it loose and go ball. Yeah,
and last one. So Seahawks game, I'm going to take you to the headset of Max Brosmer. Seahawks game, they got split coverage. They had cover 4 to the left, basically cover 3. Deep corner dropped, safety dropped. To the front side, nickel played man and corner played man. So it was man to his wide side, boundary side, which in the NFL is not the same as college, but boundary side, he had some type of quarters or 3. It was 2 dropping guys. He took it as middle of the field, closed, and he thought he had the seam.
Right.
It wasn't closed because the backside guy was like, he wasn't guarding the guy running the hook, I think is what he had, or some type of comeback. He was actually robbing that set. He was reading 1 to 2 and robbed it. When you see that as a quarterback, and again, Justin Jefferson was to the right, manned up.
Yep.
How do you, in your mind, think, okay, I'm going to, because again, you're reading what the coach is teaching. Single high, you take that seam. But I had man because it was a split coverage. You know, it wasn't like true single high safety. It was man, and you had Justin Jefferson. As a quarterback, do you go back and watch that and say, next time I get man, I'm just going to Justin Jefferson on this?
I think that's part of it. I think that's something they've done really well throughout, Jetta's career is, hey, at the end of the day, KYP know your personnel, and when it's man-to-man, if Nick Saban says it's cat coverage, which cat's better?
Right.
And when you have, Justin Jefferson, usually that cat's better than the guy on the other side.
Correct. Yep.
And so I think that's definitely part of it. And for Max, he's continuing to learn, but he's also running the system. So it's that ebb and the flow, right, of understanding calculated risks that he can take. What's, in-game situation, what's a calculated risk? Well, throwing to, Justin Jefferson's not really that much of a risk when you have man-to-man situation. But I think the question and the coverage you talked about gets into one of the hot topics that's been on NFL and football Twitter.
Correct.
Is peer progression reads, coverage reads. And as the defenses have evolved and gotten a lot more complex and complicated,
correct,
instead of, coverage-based reads, you're seeing a lot more peer progressions, which allows quarterbacks to play fast and concepts that can be good versus all coverages. So I think that's something, I think Kevin O'Connell's used with, these young quarterbacks this year, but maybe Max will use it even more next week. But that's a whole different conversation that, we could break down on film, which we should do at some point this offseason, of break down those three things and kind of look at the clip that Kirk Cousins had. That to me is fascinating, and I think that shows the evolution of the NFL and why these defenses, that they get more complicated. Offenses tend to get a little bit more simplistic. And football's a cyclical game, and it'll go back around. The defenses will start playing more just shell coverages, and then RPOs will come back and play, and all this stuff is fascinating. But at the end of the day, at the quarterback position, you got to make confident, decisive decisions. And for Max, if you get 1-on-1 on Justin Jefferson, I'm sure that's something that he's taking into consideration if he gets to start next week.
Yeah, and speaking of confident, decisive decisions, I'm going to Omaha this, right? We're going to call it a little audible. NIL. You are a quarterback.
Yeah.
A school comes to you and offers you, let's say, $750,000 for one season to come play school B, right? School you're going to transfer to. School A, where you're at, let's call it Minnesota, offers you $300,000 for the season. Relationship with that coach, that program, you know it, you've been here for 2 years, or do you, a $400,000 increase, do you jump ship and take that $400,000?
Man, from a business perspective, you got to leverage the offer, right? If you don't want to leave, how can you use your agent? That's why Coach Flex talked about it a lot. Never been a greater time than to be a college football agent, which there really isn't governance for, which is an entirely different question, right? Maybe we should become agents. Who knows? But I think from the quarterback perspective, the great agents are going to use that as leverage of, hey, I don't need the 750, but can I get to 650? Can I get to 600? I want to stay here. Let's use that other 150 to help. And really, like, some of those numbers might be a lot higher.
Right.
But you understand, man, when you got these young guys in situations of, when you're talking about millions of dollars of differences, that's weighty, right?
Correct.
And it's hard to turn that down when that could change your family's trajectory for generations and create generational wealth. So it's easy to blame the players. But what would you do if you got put, $1 million more to go somewhere else to play football? It'd be hard to say no to that.
Yeah, another side of the coin is Bryce Underwood. I mean, everybody's seen it. Dave Pontenot says, I'm not giving him any more money.
Right.
How would you react? Like, would you stay at Michigan, or would you then start saying, okay, well, if you don't want to pay me, I got to go to some school that's going to pay me to be here?
I think he's part of the conversations of what do they want to do next from a head coaching perspective of when you have a talent like that. It's also, expectations, man. You're putting huge expectations on kids coming in as freshmen, which is much different, right? With rookies in the NFL, we do it, but it's different because they're grown men.
Right.
They're 22 or 20. Sam Darnold was 20, but that's rare. Most of the time, these guys are grown men. And when you have a 17, 18-year-old going into college and people know how much you're making, that's incredible expectations. That is very weighty. And so that's something that I think is interesting. But then at the same time, these other schools with the NIL, we hear legend numbers that people are getting paid, and we hear it on X and Twitter, but we don't know if that's true or not. Where in the NFL, we know for sure what they're getting paid. Maybe we don't know their ad money, but we know what they're getting paid from a contract from playing for the Minnesota Vikings, the San Francisco 49ers. So I think that as that starts to become more of a reality and these contracts become more firm, that'll happen. But I just think of Bryce's situation of, man, that's weighty. Yeah. When you're, what was it, 18 million, I think?
Well, 12 by the end, like 12 million, 12 and a half
right?
million,
so,
Allegedly.
We don't know. Right? Who knows? When you're going into that and it's like Tom Brady was involved and Barstool was involved with Dave Portnoy. Man, like, I understand why, he stayed in Michigan, decided to go be a Wolverine. But that's a lot, especially when you're not playing well, right? Kirk Cousins had that with the Vikings when he was getting paid $40 million. People were going after him, and he had a phenomenal 3 years in Minnesota? 3 years
got
for the
hurt.
Vikings.
Tore his Achilles.
And now you have a 17-year-old, and the fans in the stands know what he's making. So then
Right.
you have these expectations of how about we just let the kid develop?
Right.
And so I feel for Bryce. I think he'll stay and work it out at Michigan and have a great career there. But it's definitely things that I'd be considering if I were him.
We all said, Sam, as you heard Tanner Morgan say, Max Brosmer just wasn't trying to make mistakes. He said coming off the Seattle game as a former quarterback, it makes total sense. Like, why screw it up? Like, your defense is playing pretty well. You don't want to be the reason they lose, because imagine, Sam, leaving US Bank Stadium and Max Brosmer has thrown 3 interceptions or 2 interceptions or strip sack fumbles that give the Lions a short field, right? That's like the defense had all the momentum going. There was no reason to shift the momentum to the Lions, even though the fans weren't happy with the sacks, which ended up netting 3 yards passing, blah, blah. Max Brosmer might have done the Vikings a favor by not giving them a short field. Like that was actually the key. Don't screw this up for us. Remember, that was the old Mike Zimmer days, right? Don't screw this up for me. My defense is great. Don't screw this up. That's what it felt. It felt like Flores said, you know what? I got this, Kevin. Relax. I got this. But talking about quarterbacks, right, Sam? So looking at some of the stuff he said, looking at, like, we started the season off talking about McCarthy and Drake Lindsey, right? If I had to grade out McCarthy's season, he's probably going to finish a winning quarterback, because what is his record? 5-4 at this point?
5-4. Mm-hmm.
So he's going to finish, because I don't think he'll play Sunday. So I think he's going to finish a winning quarterback. Very left a lot on the table for us to wonder, who can he be? You saw flashes. You saw the 9 moments where he ran the ball and grittied, and my arm, I'm cold, the cold, I got ice cold veins and all, whatever it is, all that stuff. Winter Soldier. I don't know what he was doing. That could be a great one though. Hey, Winter Soldier, Iron Arm. That should be his, but he probably doesn't even think that way. Have you seen the movie Winter Soldier, by the way, Sam? You guys know I always love to throw movies at Sam.
Right. And I usually, in the superhero realm, I usually haven't.
So you haven't seen the Winter Soldier.
Haven't.
Avengers, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Just watch.
Okay.
It's a great one. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Best thing ever. It's the guy from Dawson's Creek, I think, is the main guy. It's great. It's great. I love the Winter Soldier. Like when he, I'm not going to ruin it for you. I can't tell you what he does, but when he became something, I'm like, I could be the Winter Soldier. Like, I like his character. But when you think, but it's great because he has a bionic arm. So that's part of it, Sam. He loses his arm in the war. You have to see how and what happens. And they give him like this bionic arm. It's a perfect quarterback like thing. Like, because people always joked about, like, if he was a quarterback, he'd be better than Tom Brady. He would, because the dude could throw a ball 100 yards. Like, his arm is just ridiculous. Like, he has the strongest arm in the world. It's made out of one of the toughest, is made out of one of the toughest metals ever. But anyway, when you think about J.J. McCarthy, right, all those moments, if I had to give it a grade, I'm going to go C+, personally. Like, I struggle to give him a B. Like, he got the wins 5-4, but it just felt like there was a lot to be desired. Right? Like, we talked about pure progressions and how they felt like he wasn't getting it fast enough. And then you hear Kirk Cousins break it down and how he said, like, it took him years and years and years to understand, because at Michigan State, it was, I'm just dealing with half the field. I'm guessing Michigan was the same way, right? Like, I'm just dealing with half the field. I don't have to worry about the whole field. Pure progression is like, I got to worry about the whole field. And then let me eliminate 2 guys based off the coverage. And then I'm going to go 3, 4, 5. Boom. Jump it off. That's what pure progression is. All 5 guys are live until the snap. I'm eliminating 2. Let me move to 3, 4, 5. It felt like J.J. McCarthy would be like 1. Okay, nope. 2. Okay, nope. Sack. And that's where Kirk Cousins has been in the league for a while now. But to hear a veteran say that, that's why I give him that. I don't know. What would your grade be for McCarthy?
Probably a C- to C. But I like the way that he finished the last 3. I crunched some numbers yesterday. Commanders game, Cowboys game, first half of Giants game. In those 3 weeks of the NFL season, he was 6th in passer rating. He was like 8th in average net yards per attempt. I mean, he was very good, very serviceable. I could roll with that guy next year. If that's the guy you get in 2026, more than okay with it. I think I have
East.
Yeah, that's right. Just mowed down the NFC East. That's right. Would have liked to have him against the Eagles earlier in the season, but I've got a lot more faith now that, okay, there's a baseline here at least that they can build off of. Get the technique in a little better spot, I don't know what he does with his body. Does he add more weight? Does he add more muscle? Make him a little bit more impenetrable to injury. Do whatever you need to do to get his conditioning in the right place so that we're not losing him every 3 weeks and then having to restart things when he gets back. But the grade would have been an F a month ago, Ron. So, hey, he's worked his way up to where I think it was an average, sometimes below average rookie season, which a lot of guys have, but it's no longer as diabolically bad as it looked there for a while.
And when you think about the Gophers fans, let's go to Drake Lindsey, right? I personally got to give Drake Lindsey a B+, like almost an A-. When you look at that bowl game, like the bowl. So if the only Drake Lindsey film you've seen as a Minnesota sports fan, right? I saw a lot of people tweeting like Ben Lieber and all. It was almost like a lot of these people, like Ben Lieber did go to a Gophers game, so he's seen Drake Lindsey before. So I'm not gonna say Ben's one of them, but I know some of the tweets I was seeing was like the first time they've watched a Gophers game, you know, because they're like, oh man, that number 1 is pretty good. Like, where have you been? He is the best player on the team. Like that running back, man. Like I didn't know he's been that. Like he's been that. And then Drake Lindsey, like a couple of those throws, that's when people are like, whoa, what? He can what? It's like, yeah, he throws timing balls. That's his thing. He can zip it, but he's better at the timing balls. And I think that's the key to the NFL when you look at his size, right? A true 6'5", 230, you know, as he gets older, he's probably going to have that Dante Culpepper frame where it feels a little bit bigger. Maybe the Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know if you remember the Ben Roethlisberger where he was untackleable in the pocket. You couldn't sack him. We have to remember Drake Lindsey is 18, 19 years old, right? He's not going to shrink. He's not going to get smaller. He's going to get bigger and stronger. Like he's still a kid. But he has a frame of an NFL quarterback, Sam. Every time I was at practice and I would stand next to him, I'm like, man, this kid's big. Like, because I felt small. And I'm like, I would love to have had a quarterback this size. Like, he felt like a true NFL quarterback. The key is I give him that grade because there still were some throws that he could have made that he might not have trusted his receivers, or some throws he made that he shouldn't have made. Even if the receiver ran the route that way, you don't make the throw. But again, that's a freshman just doing what the coach said. As he gets older and he learns the offense and he starts to take, because they don't even give him, because I asked the coaches, like, do you guys give him the ability to come to the line of scrimmage and just kill a play? They're like, no, he's not there yet. Kid's 19. Like, no, we're not giving the reins over to him. He looks great. He will one day. I think he'll be an All-American one day, like for sure All Big Ten. But like when I say All-American, I don't know what level, first team, second team, third, like, but I think he's going to be up there at some point. But I will say All Big Ten. Like I think over the years, if he stays in the Big Ten, he will be All Big Ten. But the key is, when can he take over that Drew Brees role? I played against Drew. I don't know if you remember his game much, Sam, in college, but it was that 4 wide and then just dice up people, right? 4 wide, and then I'm just going to go. I'm picking my matchups, and I'm attacking. I've seen it. Like I think I got to look up the stats one day. But Sam, if you ever look it up, I think it's 1998 and 1999. I think Drew Brees threw for like 400 yards on us. I'd have to look that up, but it was bad. Purdue versus Minnesota, and 97, the year before I got there, I think was one of the bigger ones too. It was like a 48 to 46 or 49 to 40. Like it was a stupid, like high scoring game. Like 97, 98, 99, Drew Brees just diced up Minnesota. And so when you think, and I can't remember if it was 2000, because I think he got drafted in 2000, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was 2001. But I thought he got drafted in 2000, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was 2001.
I got it right here. 1997, he was not the starter, but it was a crazy game, 59 to 43.
That's dumb.
Wow, but he threw 1 pass at the end, it looks like.
So that wasn't him. So then 98
So 98, 56-21, Breeze
killed us.
threw 6 touchdowns.
Yep, that was the one.
And then the year after that, 33-28, Breeze threw two touchdowns. And then the next year, 38-24, he threw 2 more touchdowns. So all told,
from 3 years. Okay, I played
10 touchdowns, no picks in his career against the Gophers.
So maybe one day Drake Lindsey can get to that. Because if you ever go back and watch the film, Drew Brees I didn't realize he played in that overtime game. So that 2000 game was the overtime game where we got screwed, I think. One of our guys caught it in the corner of the end zone, and they said he was out of bounds, but it was that stupid end zone that the Gophers painted yellow and they left green. And the refs forgot that the green was actually still part of the end zone. They thought the green was out of bounds and the yellow was the end. And so they saw his foot hit the yellow and then part of the green, and they called him out. So there's a picture in the Pioneer Press, you probably can find it, of that catch that says the refs blew it because our guy's foot is on the green and yellow, and they thought green meant out of bounds, and they just completely and that was before a replay. Like now, that'd be a touchdown because college would have went back, they'd have replayed it quick, they'd have been like, oh, yep, touchdown, Gophers win. Drew Brees, get out of here. But they wanted to get Drew Brees. Like, that was towards the end. They wanted to get him, make sure he gets to the Rose Bowl or whatever they were trying to get him to, whatever. But we should have had that win, too. That would have vaulted us to, like, 7 or because we only play 11 games, so it would have been like 7-4, which would have gotten us maybe a Cotton Bowl. But who knows? But anyway, so back to Drake Lindsey. Sam, that's the thing. Like, I want to see if he can get to that one day. I want to see if he can get to that Drew Brees type. And that's where, but it comes down to the portal. Like when you look at, and Tanner Morgan brought this up, like Bryce, Underwood, the NIL stuff. When you have that big of an NIL dollar number and people see it, they hate you. Like if you're not doing well, you get bullied. Like you making all this money and you can't do this, you can't throw, you can't do that. So that's where I wonder, like, is Minnesota ever going to hit that public NIL type of like reach out with these receivers? Because there's a bunch of receivers hitting the portal now from big time schools. I just wonder, do anyone to come play for a 6'5", 220 plus quarterback? I don't know. How did you see Drake Lindsey's, before we get to the Daily 3, how did you see the season finishing out?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't get a lot of help from his receivers. You're right. I think that's not necessarily his fault. Within the framework of what he was working with, made a lot of good decisions. You think about it, he had 3 interceptions in the Iowa game, which was, as a team, everyone stunk in the Iowa game.
Correct.
Then he had, I think in the Buffalo game, an interception went off of his receiver's head or body. Like there was a fluky interception. So other than that, he had like 2 other interceptions the whole year. I mean, he was really smart with the football. High completion percentage guy, big arm, had some high level performances, led the team to comeback victories, showed some clutch to his game. All of that in his first year as starter. Yeah, I'm giving him a B+. Really good. And the fact that he's all in, that he's back next year, that gets me excited for Gopher football. Even though this was a little disheartening of a season, they couldn't compete with the best teams. It feels like next year there's some real momentum with the program.
Yeah, and you got Anthony Smith coming back, which that's very surprising. I thought he would go to the NFL or maybe go to a different school with higher NIL dollars. He's coming back. You got Darius Taylor, who's still deciding. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the portal with receivers. I think that's the biggest key is like the receivers they bought in. Some of them just did not do what they were supposed to do. Javon Tracy's coming back, so that's a one that you're like, okay, well, maybe he's coming back, but I feel like he would come back. He had a flash, a Northwestern game that was ridiculous. So I could see him coming back to, really add on to what he did from the slot position because he was really good in the slot. It's just you gotta do it more than not. You got to keep doing it, right? And LeMekhi Brockington is leaving, and the tight ends are done. So it's like you got some young tight ends coming in. Voss, does he come in right away and make a big splash? Does another tight end, from somewhere else that maybe decommit from Penn State, does he decide to come to Minnesota? I mean, it's a lot of moving pieces. I don't know if he goes to Virginia Tech with what's his name, Franklin. There's going to be a lot of Big Ten moving pieces with coaches and just these Wisconsin guys. You're seeing Wisconsin linebackers potentially hit the portal that used to be recruited by guys and blah, blah, blah. And, the Gophers are bringing in a defensive end coach who recruited some of those guys at Wisconsin. Do those guys want to come to Minnesota? So again, it's gonna be a fun offseason of like figuring this out. But that's one thing about Drake Lindsey that Tanner Morgan said is he is really good. He has a really strong arm. He's a really big body and fits the NFL. But, as far as Drake Lindsey and J.J. McCarthy, 2 young quarterbacks in the Minnesota's backyard, it'd be interesting to see what happens over the next, 2 years, I'd say minimum, because you get both probably for 2 years minimum. And then you got to kind of make a decision on McCarthy and Drake Lindsey. Is he ready to go to the NFL? Because he's a redshirt, so that'd be his 4th year. Or does he want to do it again and do his, 4-year, his redshirt, whatever, 5th year and play it out and maybe increase his draft status? We'll see what goes on. And it's so funny to think that far out, like 2027. Like you just don't know what you're going to see, but we'll see 2027 football at some point and where they end up. But I'm Ron Johnson, that's Sam Ekstrom. Coming up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions. Spend about a minute each, 2 minutes each today, and we'll do that after a short pause. Well, now it's time for the Daily 3, Sam. Take it away.
All right, this has been one of the big talkers around the Minnesota Vikings this week. Brian Flores is a free agent after this season, and he spoke today. He said that his representations, handling the negotiations, he's loved his time in Minnesota. He kept it, pretty political, didn't say anything too dramatic either way. I think the Vikings obviously want him back. Will the Wilfs pony up whatever it takes, Ron, to keep Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator?
I'd say yes, because what else is out there? And the uncertainty of defenses, when you look across the league, how bad some of these teams have been when they lose their coordinator to the league, and how far they can fall off. Lose their coordinator to a promotion. Yep. And that's what I think, is going to have to happen. If Brian Flores gets a head coaching job, I don't know how much money they could offer him to even not take that. Because we've seen that before. DC's not take head coaching offers because this team is like, look, we'll give you $3 million. And he's like, well, how much are you going to get as a coach? Well, you're going to get $3.5 million. I don't have to move my family. Less stress. I'm not going to get fired as DC because my defense is going to be pretty good. I'll let that $500,000 and no job security sit out there. And again, we still keep forgetting about the trial or whatever, the lawsuit, against the NFL and the Miami Dolphins. Like, I still think that's going to be a big part of it. But I think the Wilfs would be dumb not to pay him because it's not a part of your salary. There's no coach's salary cap. Like, if you want to make this team good and keep them good, you saw what Brian Flores can do with those pieces of the puzzle. I'd say you keep him. I don't know. What do you think?
Totally agree. If he goes to get a head coaching job somewhere, fine. That's bound to happen someday. Mm-hmm. You cannot let him be a defensive coordinator somewhere else just because they overpaid. Right. There's no salary cap for the staff. Got to keep him aboard. He probably will make the most of any coordinator in the league. He's going to set the market. It's rare to have a coordinator this good who's not going to be a head coach. And because of his unique circumstance, the Vikings find themselves in a position where they have to pay up. I think they got to do it. All right, bunch of predictions for you, Ron. I want all of the college football playoff matchups predicted, starting with Miami against Ohio State. Buckeyes favored by 9.5.
Yep, so I'm going Miami. Not the upset, but I do remember Miami, Ohio State back in the day when I played Ed Reed, after Ed Reed and them. But I think that was a most correct game, Claret. But I'm going Ohio State in that one. I think Ohio State's going to – they're both going to have athletes, but I think I'm going to Ohio State.
Same for me. That Miami offense didn't look very impressive in the Texas A&M win. Oregon against Texas Tech. Oregon favored by 2.5.
You know what? I was going to go Texas Tech, but I keep going back to those tight ends for Oregon, watching that offense, Dante Moore. I'm pulling for Dante Moore, so I'm going to go Oregon. I think he gets it done. January 1st. It's going to be fun, too, January 1st, to be able to sit back and watch all these games.
I'm going to go Texas Tech in that one. Just want to see what they got, see what the Red Raiders can do, even though I really like Oregon's offense just like you. This is the big one for me. Yeah. Alabama against Indiana. Indiana favored by 7.
I'm struggling with this because I feel like that's upset territory for Alabama. Like, Alabama's pissed off. They're hearing all the words about Fernando Mendoza and so on and so forth. I'm going to stick with the Big Ten, though. I feel like the Big Ten can actually put Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon in this and have 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four, which would look really good for the Big Ten. So I'm going to Indiana.
Boy, 7 points is a lot against Alabama. I think I like Bama to cover, but I'm going to take Indiana. Mendoza.
Yeah, Ryan Williams, too. Like, we talked about this with Julia and them. Ryan Williams is struggling a little bit. I was, like I said, I didn't even notice him on the field, so that's what threw me off. And then now, after reading up on what's going on with him, that's tough to have a sophomore slump like that.
Ole Miss, Georgia. Georgia favored by 6.5.
Yeah, this is a toss-up. I would say Ole Miss if it was Lane Kiffin. But I feel like Georgia, Kirby Smart, this is what he's built for. He built his team for this moment. He builds his team down the stretch. He kind of has that Nick Saban in him. I'm going Georgia.
I'll go Georgia, too. They've got the coaching continuity. And then in the NFL, Ron, last one, we got 2 battles with the division on the line. Mm-hmm. Panthers, Bucks. The winner of that division could be 8-9.
Yeah. It's a struggle, right? Panthers have been playing good, but I think the Bucks are going to get this one done. I still think, I like Antoine Winfield and that group on that defense. And Baker Mayfield, like he's got Mike, what's his name, is back. So he's been out. He had been out with some injuries. I think his first year, he's not going to hit his 1,000 yards in whatever his whole career. But he's got him back for the playoffs, for the stretch. So I got to go with that. That's why I think the Steelers, and going to the Steelers, so I think the Steelers are going to lose. Like, no DK Metcalf. It kind of showed Aaron Rodgers' true colors in the red zone. Like, he didn't really have, and they eliminated the big tight end Washington for a lot of it. So I just think the Ravens, the way the Ravens ran the ball on the Packers, I think this is going to be a smash mouth game that the Ravens, bravado was going to come through. And again, no DK. DK hurt his team. I think he catches that ball against the Browns to win that game if he's playing. So no DK Metcalf. Aaron Rodgers is without his guy. I don't know. What do you think of those two?
I've got Baker in the Bucks, and I've got the Ravens as well. Same thinking. The Ravens just looked like a juggernaut running the football. Even if it's Huntley, if it's Jackson, whoever's playing, it looked like they could. Derrick Henry still looks as good as he did in his prime. He's still in his prime. So I Mike Tomlin, job security. Yeah. If they lose that game, look out.
Yeah, no, and that's what's tough, because if they lose that game, we might lose Brian Flores. If Tomlin goes, Steelers might say, hey, we were waiting for this moment to happen. And maybe Tomlin just steps aside. Maybe he pulls the Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians did that for what's his name down in Tampa? Why am I drawing a blank? Todd
Bowles.
Todd Bowles. So yeah, maybe Mike Tomlin does that for Flo. Be like, hey, who would y'all hire if I retire, or if I move on, and just say I'll be a executive assistant for the team, like Bruce Arians. I'll be around. Yeah, I wonder would that happen? Would the Steelers pick up Brian Flores, and then all of a sudden now the Steelers go right back? Because again, they run a 3-4 defense. They have all the pieces. Like, it literally fits. You got, Watt hopefully comes back from the punctured lung, but that defense is literally what Flores would love to have. Same defense, same guys. But he doesn't have a quarterback. And that's the other key. Like Aaron Rodgers. I guess Aaron Rodgers maybe one more year, maybe. So he'd be coming into a team and get to draft his own quarterback as Brian Flores, and we know what Brian Flores thought about Tua with young quarterbacks. I don't know if you want Brian Flores around a young quarterback. I just don't know how that would go, but maybe he's learned. He's getting older. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. That'll do it for us on the Ron Johnson Show today. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you log in and subscribe on YouTube to Locked On Sports Minnesota to make sure you get all of our shows. I want to thank Tanner Morgan for joining us as well. Thank the Minnesota Vikings and the Gophers for the access this season to the team and the players. It's been a fun season. We still got one more left, though, with the Packers and the Vikings. It's always good to have a good border battle in the season, and the Minnesota Vikings could be 9-8. Could have been 10-7 and been in the playoffs. We're not going to talk about that. But I'm Ron Johnson, Sam Ekstrom, and thank you guys, and have a great week.